Hi guys, welcome back, and today I'm reacting to why are UK schools so different from US schools. I'm getting this one from the Hickson Diaries. The link will be in the description below. Please go over and show Mandy some love. She has an amazing channel over there, guys, so don't forget to go over and show her some love. And remember, the link is in the description below. Tell her your island girl sent you. So I'm going to see how she explains the difference between UK school and American school, as she was living in the US before she moved to the UK. So let's get into this. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit the like and hit the subscribe button. And to all my regular schmeglers, day one, city pie, city post. Come on, let's hear what Mandy has to say. Here goes.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Hickson Diaries, where we talk about my life as an American living here in the UK. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that honestly shocked me when I moved across the pond.
Oh!
The difference between the school systems in the United States as compared to the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Now, just a heads up, I'm specifically comparing public education in the US, also known as state schools here in the UK, district schooling in the US versus catchment areas in the UK.
Ooh.
Back in the US, you have to go to the school that is assigned to your home address. It's called zoning or school districts.
Yeah.
If you want your child to attend a different public school, you literally have to get up and move house to be in the right district. No exceptions. It's all very cut and dry. Here in England, it's not quite that strict. Yes, there are what they call catchment areas, but that's actually a bit of flexibility. You get to choose and apply to several schools you're interested in, whether it is a primary school or secondary school. And you're offered a place depending on space, proximity, and sometimes even things like siblings already attending. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll always get your first choice, but I was absolutely blown away that you even have a say in it at all. Because as I mentioned, in the United States, it's like, here's your school, take it or leave it. And if you can't afford to live in a district where the schools are better, or, you know, there's a better opportunity for your child, too bad. Which, unless you have the means to pay for a private school, which is what they call them in the US, they're what I think academies or public schools here in the UK, you're just shit out of luck. I mean, that's just the truth. School uniform.
Okay, so I don't have the same experience as she have. I think it has to do based on where you are, the states that you're in. Because here in Alaska, it's the rules tend to differ a little bit, because right now the school that my kids are zoned for, my kids don't go to. Sean was zoned for a specific school, and I didn't want him to go there. But then his grade, he had this certain grade that he could get into another zone. So we applied for, and now he just finished that middle school. So because he got in, I was able to get Xavier in that school as well. But you have to do a zone exemption in order. But so with that, now you don't necessarily have the school bus that take them out of this zone. You have to either get them dropped by taxi or you take them to school. That's the kind of downfall, or they're going to take public transportation in order to get to school. So that's amazing that in the UK, you don't necessarily, you have multiple choices that you can, schools that you like, and you'll be able to get in that area in order. It's like cut and dry. Nope, this is what you're zoned for, and this is where you have to go. So, and I know other states, I'm not sure if they do it like that, because my kids haven't gone to school in other states, but I hear people complain that if you're not in a certain district here in the US, your kids have to go to whatever crappy school they're zoned for, and you can't do nothing about it. So that to me in itself is sad. School uniforms.
This is something that my child struggled with. In America, there's no school uniforms unless you go to what they call a private school. When you go to public school in America or state schools, you get to wear what you want. There is a dress code. Obviously, you don't, there's certain things that you are considered unacceptable, but school uniforms are not a thing at all. I grew up wearing jeans and t-shirts to school every day. I never had a uniform. And that was the experience that my child was having as well up until we moved here to the UK. And I remember when we were talking about the transition that we were trying to brief her and get her more comfortable with the idea of wearing a uniform because we knew that's what it was going to be like here. And she was very, very opposed to it. She was not happy about it at all. After she picked out her uniform and she went to school for a few weeks, it almost was like because everybody else was doing it, it became a non-issue after a while. Uniforms here in the UK are standard, even at most state schools, from what I understand, and it is really specific. We're talking blazers, we're talking tie. I still think some things about it are super strict, but in all honesty, I kind of love it now. It takes the thought process out. I just have to make sure her uniform is clean. And there's a lot less pressure, I think, on the kids to dress a certain way or to wear certain things.
Agreed.
I feel like it might even out and level the playing field a little bit for them socially. Overall, I think it's a really good thing. The other thing I really like about school uniforms here in the UK is that as an adult, I can always tell who the kids are. As a parent, I really appreciate that aspect of it. Obviously, I appreciate that it makes school mornings much easier as well. And I appreciate that I don't have to buy new school clothes every year.
Yep.
Standardized.
Okay, Mandy, you hit the nail with this one right here. So when my kids started school here, I was shocked out of my wits that they do not wear uniform in the US. I was like, what? Are you serious? Kids go to school in whatever, jeans, pants, shorts, skirt. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. You cannot identify which school anybody's coming from. If anybody gives trouble or anything goes on, you cannot identify these kids. They look like everybody else out there. And for me, that was a shocker. And she is so right. It puts so much pressure on you. And its cost to me is very costing. I love the idea. I love the idea of uniforms because in Jamaica, it's the same thing. You have a the school. Every school have its own color. Every school have its own color uniform. You have tie. You have your tunic. You have your shirt. You have your epaulets. And I'm like, it to me is amazing. So you can identify a student from the school that they attend. So say something happened on public transportation and it's with two students. You can say, oh, this student represents this school, or this took place with this student from this school, because they stick out like a sore thumb. And it does not put pressure on parents to be going out and buying so much clothes. So I am on board. I love the idea that you guys do uniforms. I wish that's something that would happen here in the US. I really do. As it says, some private school, depending on which state you're in, they do uniforms. But like I said, it varies depending on state. And I really agree that it kind of levels the playing field for everybody. So kids don't feel uncomfortable and they don't have this social anxiety of looking, or I can't afford this pair of kicks, so I don't fit in with a certain crowd, or my clothes don't look shabby, so everybody's in the same thing. I'm on board with that. Look, UK, you got it right. Jamaica got it right too.
Guys, testing. This one really hit our family. In America, everything is about standardized testing.
Yeah.
And it's so much pressure on the kids.
It is.
From a very early age, kids are being taught to pass tests, and that things like SATs, ACTs, or state assessment tests are the most important thing in the world.
Yep.
And it's high pressure from the beginning of the school year that you have to make sure that you do well on this test. We're not talking about just high school kids.
Nope.
We are that are about to enter college or university. We're talking about 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I remember my daughter coming home so stressed out at one point because she was taking this test. She was really upset that she didn't do well on it, and she thought her entire school career was going to be over because of all the pressure about this one test.
This one
really high stakes and honestly exhausting. I as a parent, I'm exhausted. I remember as a student, I was exhausted and always so stressed out about it. And I saw the exhaustion on my daughter's face from this as well. In the UK, students still take important exams. Don't get me wrong. There are things like the GCSEs, which I think is kind of equivalent to the SATs. And then the A levels, which is like basically a advanced placement type of tests.
Oh,
Whatever
okay.
you do, whatever your next venture is in your life's journey and your educational journey are kind of determined by these tests, but not in a pressure situation, whereas if you don't pass them, you're going to be a failure in your life. More so as like a guidance for the student of, hey, you're really good at this. If you're interested in it, this is probably what you should be pursuing.
Oh.
Or I know you were interested in medical care, something along those lines, but you don't necessarily have the aptitude, or you need to study a little bit harder and try this again. The structure just feels a lot more focused on the individual and their individual strengths. It's a lot less like,
I like that.
Constant testing just to reach a certain number. And there's a lot more specialization as the kids get older to give them a chance to really discover what they're interested in, discover what they're good at. In America,
Okay.
it is so industrialized. It's
Yep.
basically just you're taught to obey, you're taught to regurgitate, you're taught to just pass tests and be a good worker and listen to authority. That is basically grooming you for corporate
The
lifestyle.
work world, yeah.
It's a very just kind of churning out good minions basically in America, and the whole critical thinking, follow your passion, find something that you're good at and make it your career.
Wow.
That just doesn't really happen in America. It's a whole lot of talk, but not a whole lot of substance to back it up.
Yep.
Next up, term dates.
Oh my word. If I could hug you or shake your hand right now, Mandy, I would. American school system is cookie cutter. Everybody is put into this box. So even if your child is excelling in a certain area, just like she said, they don't necessarily get pushed to lean towards this is the rule, this is what you have to follow, this is what we're teaching, and everybody is thrown in a like it's like crab in a barrel. Everybody is thrown and they get the same thing. And I'm like, why can't they change their system? But like she said, there is like they're training them for the corporate world. These are the rules. You gotta sit down, you gotta listen. The standardized testing is ridiculous. And like she said, from age 7 all the way up. And it's a lot of pressure on these kids here they say, oh, it doesn't affect the kids or whatever, but they're putting so much pressure on these kids here in the US and they don't get it. And the kids know their scores when they're done and they can tell, So according to them here in the US, when it comes on to standardized testing, is to see where your kids is at, to place them a certain way. They place anywhere, they're in the same class with their same peers, getting the same thing. And when kids are more advanced, this is something that I noticed personally, and I think a lot of mothers can agree with me here in the US. When they're advanced, they get bored. And those kids are labeled as troubled kids. Their interest is not being piqued. They are not going above and beyond to make sure that their tests, there's some kind of test that they have here where they call Ignite or certain programs but your kid have to get into the 95, 96 percentile. So even if they're strong in cognitive thinking and then weak in math, you still cannot get into that program because these are called highly gifted kids or whatever it is. You have to be in the top in order for them to take you out of the school. And I'm like, why you not help? I love how the UK do it. Listen, they do the test and it's not rigorous and it's not on a term basis. And when you guys do it, then the teacher can say, okay, this is what you're interested in. Okay, you need to work hard if they're not up to that par. Or I love that. I really, really love that. And I wish majority of school system I pray and hope that they'll change, but I don't see any change coming. Like I said, they're just pushing them onto to the corporate world to go minions for somebody else to go work. That's it.
And summer break. In the United States, summer break is long. I think it's like 10 weeks. That you basically start in September for the school year and you end in like early June, mid-June, almost 3 months long. It is long. Here in the UK, the breaks are a little bit shorter, but it's more spread out across the year.
Oh.
They don't have semesters like we have in America. They have terms, and there's like 5 or 6, I think, throughout the year. So it really breaks down that their summer break is only like 6 weeks long, but they have so many more breaks in between the terms throughout the school year. Plus, in the middle of the terms, they have midterm breaks. So in the middle of the term, they still get a week off to kind of refresh and reset for the rest of the semester, for the rest of the term, excuse me. I actually really, really like this because instead of just having a week in the spring, a week for the winter holiday, and then maybe a couple other days for holidays sprinkled in here and there, and then it's massively long summer break, I think it's really, really good for the kids. I think it helps to prevent burnout. And I think that the rhythm is pretty steady for families, for planning and all that kind of stuff. Overall, in the end, from the student's perspective, I think it's better to have these breaks throughout. In the United States, the reason the school system's set up the way it is because of harvest. That's really it. It really stems back that far. It's about the kids being able to have a nice long break so they could help with the farms and harvests back in the day. And that's still our tradition now, and it needs to change. I remember being a student in America, and it just feels constant. Think about as an adult, you're at your job and you don't have a break for like 2 or 3 months other than your weekends. I mean, I lose my mind. I need a break all the time from work. Maybe it's just me. You guys let me know. Hidden costs. Something else that really surprised me about it.
Okay, I'm on board with her on that one because the kids do get burnout, and I because when I was in Jamaica, that's how we had ours. Different terms, you get breaks in between, not this long. I was shocked when I realized how much time summer break they get here in the US. I was like, what? So my kids get out of school mid-May. And they do, but now it's changed a little bit. But by the end of August, they're going back to school. So they kind of get up to 11 to 12 weeks away from school. And for me, this is how I look at it. If you have kids who are coming out of school who are struggling on summer break, they're going to get them set back so much, because on summer break, parents are still going to work. A lot of them don't have time to stay with the kids to teach them, to, you understand, to at least keep them at the level or push them to go a little further. So that's one of the major issues that I think it shouldn't be that way, and then it should be breaks in term. And then, like she said, here in the US, you get 1 week here for spring break, 1 week here for winter break, and that's pretty much it. So you can't really plan around that. To me, it don't make sense. And guys, so in Alaska, I kind of get it here because the winter is so long here. I don't get me wrong. It's kind of, I'm being the devil's advocate here. I kind of get it because but then I realized that in the lower 48, some schools get out later and they start at a later date, because I was shocked when I'm like, oh, there's kids already in school in the lower 48. And I noticed popping up on my feed on different social media sites. I'm like, oh, my kids are in school. I'm like, they're in school already? Interesting. I'm like, oh. So I think it depends on where you live here in the US, but the summers are definitely long. And I really think kids do get burnt out for real. I honestly believe that, because they're just on the go. They need a break to rewind, to reset. You know what I mean? Be refreshed.
Education here in the UK,
that's a big one.
It just feels more accessible. It feels more just like, hey, this is something that you need to do. This is something that needs to happen for everybody, not just people who are in certain districts, or not just people who have a certain amount of money. In the United States, even in public schools, you're hit with fees for everything. For fundraising for everything. Field trips, sports, yearbooks, supplies, and lunch. So I get that you have a lot of these expenses here in the UK as well. But when you talk about things like pens and notebooks and tissues for the classroom, That's stuff that we have to pay for out of our pocket as
Yep.
parents when our kids go to school. I remember my daughter getting a list every single year.
Yeah.
When you find out who their teacher is, you get a letter and a list of things that that teacher needs for the classroom that you're obligated to buy and send in with your kid for their first day of school. So here, from our experience, of course, there is still costs. She's had to pay for some field trips, and she's definitely had to pay for some supplies here and there. And of course, we pay for her lunch so she could have lunch at school, but they're add-ons. The basics, the education, the supplies, the meals for the younger kids, from what I understand, since my daughter's in secondary school, they're publicly supported. And even though we had to pay for a field trip for her to go abroad, it wasn't that expensive. And they tell you in enough time and give you a payment plan in order for you to be able to afford it.
Nice.
So it's just a lot more focused on, people might not be able to do this if you just drop it on them like a week before they need to do it.
Yeah, their
There's
last
more
minute
awareness, I feel like, of the just entire cost of schools, and that the public system actually does support the public schools much, much better here in the UK than they do in the United States. It is a huge relief as a parent. Transportation and...
Ooh, that's a big one. That's a big one. When it comes on to, literally, I sat down this morning and I'm like, ooh, I got a long list. Because remember, I have 5 kiddos. Araya is not included in the book list and the list that needs to go in. And I said to myself, oh, I need to go get this shopping done because school starts in literally a week, well, about 9 days from now, because on the 14th of August, school starts. And I'm like, whoo. So I have Sean's list, Jude's list, Xavier's list, and Kyra's list. Says everybody have a different list for each class. And when I tell you, this is crazy. I was talking to a parent a couple of days ago, and I said to her, I am not going to be on this snack train, because I'll be like, oh, we're running out of this. The amount of stuff that I send to school with my kids, I'm like, this don't make no sense. It doesn't add up. It does not, guys. Tissues, like she said, tissues, napkin, wipes, wipes, pens, markers, crayons, folders, loose leaves, books, and I'm guaranteeing you they're not using 3/4 of these. I'm like, what is my 6-year-old doing with loose leaf? What is my 6-year-old doing with a book? What's my 7-year-old doing with? You understand? They don't necessarily use these stuff. They don't use the pens. And I'm like, okay, why? And every trip you can think of, you have to pay for something. And I'm like, oh my word, this is crazy. I literally just paid $200 and something for Sean to get into a sport activities. And I'm like, okay, I can see it. You understand? Because he's trying out for varsity to play for the school. I can see they need certain things. But then I was like, he has to bring his own, he has to bring his, Miss Araya. He has to bring his own equipment. I'm like, okay. How does that pencil up? But it is what it is. I'm not complaining. It is what it is. But it's crazy. And they're so last minute. They're so last minute. And fundraisers from here to there. And donation from here to here. But this year, I hear them say, oh, lunch for school is free. I'm like, oh, interesting. And it's all statewide, all school lunch are free. And breakfast. And I was like, I don't know why somebody hears something, but okay. That's one less thing I got to pay for. We have to pay for this year. So I'm on board with it. I ain't complaining, even though I have to pack my kid lunch every morning because my kids don't like school lunch. I don't know why, but that's my kids. So I'm on board with how the UK runs stuff when it comes on to school and paying for stuff. You get enough notice, and you're not bombarded with so many stuff that you have to send into school. Like I said, the UK got it right. Transportation,
school lunches. So in the United States, in case you guys don't know, school buses are this big staple. They're those big yellow long buses.
Yep, big
that
bus.
you probably have seen in movies
Yellow.
and television and stuff. And yes, they are real. And
Mhm.
you are provided a school bus for free if you live a certain distance away,
In the south.
which is one of the few things that is free of charge when it comes to schools in America. In the UK, transportation is on you. It depends on the area, and it obviously depends on your access and proximity to it. But lots of kids walk, lots of kids bike, and lots of children take public transit, especially the older kids. It's strange to me. When we first moved, we paid for a private bus that picked her up right outside of the area where we were living. It just made it a lot easier for the family. Now, since we've moved to a new place, she just literally gets on the local buses. It takes her to her school, and she can take whatever public bus she wants. It's really, really cool, actually, in that aspect. And I really applaud and appreciate the independence. Then when you talk about meals, so meals in the United States, school lunches are hit or miss. And I'm talking about cost and quality. Like I've seen some school lunches in America, or you guys call them school dinners, right? That look almost like prison food. It's really gross and disgusting. True. If your child can't afford school, they do have free lunch programs in some areas, but not in every area. It's one of those programs that's being cut a lot for budgetary purposes. In the UK, kids in early years get free meals. From what I understand, we don't have personal experience, but that's what I've been told. So tell me if I am wrong. And many of the schools cook for the kids. Ooh. Of course, it's not gourmet food or anything like that, but it's definitely not prison food. Now, our daughter has a lunch card that we put money on, and then she could buy whatever she wants from there. I think there's certain things that are free, but if you don't like that meal, then you have the option of buying something with your card. And of course, she can bring in a sandwich or something like that if she wants to as well. And the prices are much more reasonable than when I remember buying lunch all the time in school. So money, of course, in the United States, always a factor. So why would schools be any different? So there you have it, guys. Those are my honest takes on the school systems in the United States as opposed to the United Kingdom based on my personal experience and the experience I have with my family. Some things were a bit of a culture shock, but some were a pleasant surprise. And let's be fair, I'm still adjusting and learning. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you have experience in either that you'd like to share, I'd love to know. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.
Bye, Mandy. I did enjoy that video for sure. That's for sure. You know, kiddos watching don't want to get no copyright away. But I'm on board with her with this video. Some of them are shockers to me, but I like how your UK school system is set up. You know, I'm like with all that's going on, less stress. But transportation. In Jamaica, we walk to school, but that was the countryside. In the cities, it's different. You have to take buses, taxis. There was no school buses. So for me, that was a big shocker. I'm like, oh, you actually have school buses that go and pick up go in the neighborhood and pick up the kids and take the kids to school. I'm like, oh, interesting. Very interesting. If you're close to a school zone, you can walk to school. If you're not far from the school, you can walk and you can bike to school here in Alaska. And I've seen kids done it in Kentucky and even in New York. Kids walk or take the bus, the train. So they kind of have this kind of independence. Even young kids I see do it. But yep, them big yellows. I thought that was just for fun or in movies, but it's real on real here in the US. And when it comes to school lunch here, it depends on the state you're in. Because I remember in New York, my nieces, when they're going to school, the school cook. And it's good on cook, but they were Caribbean cafeteria ladies. So you know it's some good food. It's some good food. This food that I see my kids get here, I'm like, ugh, that is not food. So that's why my kids don't eat school lunch. So I have to be packing school lunches from left to right in the mornings. If you guys ever get in my live stream or if I go live, you can see me getting stuff ready. So, and school lunch, the price racks up. When they go in and they take certain things, the price racks up. And it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, okay, who is using your card? Because I give you lunch every day. And I'm like, oh, because sometimes a kid can take up a card and swipe it, even if it don't belong to them. I'm like, okay, when did my kid? And then like, I didn't have lunch because I'm not eating that because I know my kid's taste buds. So, but like I said, it's very, it all boils down to money when it comes to all the kids here in the US. I see they take public transportation if their parents cannot take them to school, if they're not within that school zone. And or if you miss the bus, then it's either somebody have to take you to school or you they get a taxi or they take public transportation. It's that simple. There are services here for persons who cannot afford, like low income families who cannot afford to take their kids to school, or they're not within the school zone, and they have services where the state pays for like taxi service to pick your kid up, to drop them off at school and pick them up and drop them home. There those kind of service, but those are only for families that earn a low. You have to fall into a certain bracket. Also, kids here get free lunch, but you have to fall into a certain threshold when it comes to how much money that comes into the household. So there are different services that is given to families based on their income. Let me put that there. So it's not all that bad, but like I said, I like the idea of uniforms because it takes a lot of pressure off the kids, take a lot of pressure off the family as well to go out and buy, and then it gives these kids, to me, give them confidence and make them don't have to feel less than among other kids. I like the idea of giving notice, and you don't have to be paying for every single thing when it comes to the kids attending school. So with that said, I enjoyed this video to the max. Like I said, please go over and show Mandy the Hickson Diary some love, and she has great content on her channel. I really enjoy looking at her content as well. Wonderful lady. And yes, I am okay to do her video. Let me put that out there. Be good, be kind, be safe out there, love each other. And if you can't be good and you can't be kind, keep to yourself. Period, point blank. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoy this one. If you'd like to see more videos like these, let me know in the comment section. Your girl got you. If you'd like to support the channel in another way, there's a join button to become a member to the channel. You can click on that and you will see all the perks that are offered. Love you guys. Bye.